And now my heart is grown, it cannot be contained. All the stars and the planets, they're finding their place. It's very complicated and simple too. My new constellation led to you. I ached for the freedom I was losing and yearned for the mother I'd become. I didn't sleep that night as you arranged the stars. I cradled my tiny child and nursed my expanding heart. Thank you. Thank you.
How do you want to interpret and talk about your life? So there was this old cowboy who moved from Texas to Wyoming, and guys, you're not even giving me a chance to tell you the story. And once he got settled in, he went to a local bar, and he went up to the bartender and he ordered 3 draft beers. And so he took his 3 glasses of beer back to the corner. He sat down and he took a sip of one, and then he took a sip of the next, and then he took a sip of the next. And each in turn, he drank until all 3 beers were finished. And then he got back up and he came up to the bar, and the bartender said, and he ordered 3 more beers. And the bartender said, you know, as soon as I pour the draft, it starts going flat. They'll taste a lot better if you just order 1 beer at a time. He says, well, you see, I just moved here from Texas, and my 2 brothers left Texas at the same time. One's in Arizona, one's in Colorado. And so we agreed that what we would do is we would get together in our respective bars, and we would sit down and we would drink in this way to honor our past together and how we used to share great times as we would share beer together. Our bartender said, that sounds like a great little ritual, if you will, to share time and love with your brothers. So time went on, and he got to be a regular at this bar. And then one day he came in and he ordered 2 beers, and the whole bar fell silent. And the bartender was very quiet, and he drafted the 2 beers. He took those 2 beers, he went back in the corner, he started sipping on one, sipped on the next, etc. In turn until he finished those 2, came back up to the bar and he ordered 2 more. And the bartender said, I don't want to intrude upon your morning, but I just wanted to offer my condolences for your loss. And the cowboy looked at him kind of confused for a moment, and then he had dawn of awakening in his eyes. He says, oh, no, everybody's just fine. But see, my wife and I just joined the Baptist church here, and I had to quit drinking, but that didn't affect my brothers. How creative can you be? This month, we're focusing on resurrection. What a novel thing to focus on during Easter. But be ye regularly transformed by the renewal of your mind so as to prove daily what is possible. What? That is not what's written in Romans 12. However, I believe and I have observed that every single moment in our lives comes to us so that we can prove the principles taught in this philosophy. Whether it's good so-called or bad so-called, obstructive so-called, or free-flowing, so-called, is to validate the thinking that would be behind that particular experience we're having in that particular moment. And believe me, it is not necessarily hard to get philosophical when things turns upside down and our lives suck. We tend to get philosophical. You go, well, there must be about this. If I got the bigger picture, and some people might say, well, God's testing me, or whatever. If what we do is consider that every single moment is an opportunity for us to prove this philosophy, this teaching, then we have an opportunity to practice it in all scenarios. So in Foundations class this last week, or a couple of weeks ago actually, the homework assignment was to watch the news. And the uproarious groan and moan that came out of the students was overwhelming. Watch the news. I don't want to watch the news. It's all negative. And yeah. But if we watch the news and expose ourselves to that experience, we have an opportunity to use the philosophy to correct our thinking so that we see it for what it really is. It's just upsetting. Bless you. It's just upsetting. It doesn't mean that it's actually that way, and it might be. But we have the power over our minds, and that controls the experience we have, no matter the conditions. So, be regularly transformed by renewing our mind. What a novel approach to challenge the way we think every single moment, every single day. And today, getting ready. What are we getting ready for? Well, that's to be discovered. But getting ready is about getting to that place where we genuinely can step into something new. In order to honestly get ready for anything, especially a new thing, it's helpful to start from where you are with nothing. Can you start from where you are with nothing? Have you no history? Have you no past? Have you no experiences? Of course not. You do. I do. We do. We have them individually. We have them collectively. But we can, through one of the spiritual practices offered here in this teaching at this center, at least create more space for additional creativity. There are two conditions that allow evolution. The first condition is chaos. We all love chaos, don't we? We look at it and go, yes, more chaos. Not likely. However, without chaos, there's no evolution, there's no change. And the other condition, anybody know? Infinity. Because if there is no infinity, there's no place to evolve to or expand into. So chaos and infinity are the two prerequisites for evolution. Both can cause upset. If something is too big, it seems too big. Therefore, it can be upsetting. And when chaos is around, it's time to step back and look at it with a bigger view. So, in order to honestly get ready for anything, we have to embrace chaos and infinity. Oh boy. And people wonder why this is not a popular philosophy. We have to work in this teaching. So, Ernest Holmes, in this thing called You, a great starter book if you're new to this teaching. You are surrounded by a dynamic force, a great surge of living power. You are immersed in and saturated with the vital essence of life. There's a book written by Dr. Holmes called The Art of Life. It used to be, I forget the name it used to be. So it's called The Art of Life. And in there, he never uses the G word. He never says God. He talks about life itself. And that's really a brilliant approach. Because any individual definition of God is not as big as God is, according to this teaching. If God is infinite, then no definition of God could fit in infinite. It's a part of the infinite. So if you look at life, life is huge, isn't it? It extends out beyond the beyond and beyond. So it's way out there. And as soon as you think you caught the edges of it, it's beyond that. So, the art of life is about discovering that life itself. And Holmes also wrote, never limit your view of life by any past experience. Have you ever limited your view of life because of a past experience? Go like this. Yes, you have, I have, we have as a collective as well. We have thought, well, my gosh, if that's happened, then I have to protect myself a little bit from having that happen again. Or whatever other story we made up. Because you know how men are, you know how women are, you know how the news is, you know how politicians are, and obviously everybody knows how our president is at any given moment in time throughout the millennia. No exceptions. How about in-laws? I think they get a bum rap. Here they are giving us an opportunity to expand ourselves. Not a popular approach, is it? However, in this teaching, we have the opportunity to do that. How about dis-ease? Of course, we want to retract from it. We want to remove ourselves from it, don't we? And yet, it's an opportunity to expand our consciousness, an opportunity to grow. As soon as we limit our view of life, we just shrunk. So we just finished a class here called Visioning. And people went through 8 weeks of talking about this very thing, the spiritual practice of opening to a greater yet to be. We cannot have a greater yet to be unless, one, we acknowledge infinity, and two, we are willing to embrace chaos. Then we can, wow, we say in our vision statement, spiritual discovery. You cannot discover unless you let go of what you held on to before. There is no opening. If you are set, concluded, that's it, final, you've already determined the way life is, there's no more discovery. And if there's anything I have found true in most of the centers of religious science, of science of mind teaching, then they are discoverers, adventurers. Now, some may resist it a little bit, but they don't hang around long if they don't want to discover who they really are. I think that discovery is the most delicious, rich, sweet experience. Because I don't think any of us are set. We're constantly being exposed to and exposing ourselves to all sorts of variety in this thing called life. So visioning is a spiritual practice where what we do is we suspend what we have concluded up to this point in time and breathe into a new possibility, literally look into possibility itself, the greater yet to be. And today you were handed upon, entering the room, or before then, a card. And it's got 3 questions on it. Don't answer anything. If you don't have one, please raise your hand and Kurt will get you one. You'll notice there are 3 questions on there. Don't answer anything until I guide you through this, because as I enjoy this discovery process, I totally open myself up to that no matter what the talk or the focus of any particular Sunday message might be going in, I don't let that limit what I need to say. So today, you have 3 questions there. We're not going to do those 3 questions. We're only going to do the first question, and then again I'm going to give you a different one than the other 2 that's already on there. Now, a couple of people have volunteered to record this information, to summarize all this information, and we will report back to you what that result was. Some of it it'll be in the newsletter, which is available from the website. It'll also be reported back to you next Sunday, I'll bring some summary of that summary. So we need to have your information in order to do that. And in order to do this honestly, we need to suspend our notions that we know exactly everything as it ought to be. Literally open to the whatever. And that's not necessarily comfortable for some people. So that's the opportunity here. You get to experience sort of sliding into the unknown in a very safe environment. You don't have to leave your chair. You don't have to give up your pencil or your pen. So does everybody have a card and something to write with? A couple more right over here. Spiritual practice of opening to a greater yet to be. So that's what we're going to do. I would like for you to put your name on it. And the reason I would like for you to put your name on it, because if you slip and don't write legibly, we would like to be able to contact you to find out what you actually wrote. Fair enough? Because I think it's right that you should be properly represented. You should be accurately reported. And today's date, April 7th. That's just for continuity purposes. You know, where we are, we start where we are. The first question is, what is the highest vision, the highest ideal for Center for Spiritual Living Salt Lake? Don't write an answer yet. We're going to set this up a little bit with a little centering exercise. So when you answer that question, when you respond to it, one, be succinct, be concise. You don't need a lot of words. Truly. You don't even have to put complete sentences. Capture the nuggets of what comes to you. Now, what if I get the color blue? Well, then you write down blue. What if I get, and what I mean by get is the answer that comes to me when the question is posed. What if I get, oh, just breathe? You write down, oh, just breathe. Does that make sense? I assume that this means yes? Good. And if you don't get anything, then don't write down anything. Because that's an honest answer, an honest reply as well. But likely you're going to get something. Because the infinite is constantly impressing us. It's constantly coming from within us. Because we're surrounded by it. We live in it. So I'd like for you to, we're going to leave the lights up so that you can see what you're writing. And I'd like for you to close your eyes and exhale completely before you take 2 or 3 good deep breaths. Releasing each one. And with each exhale, let go of the process of coming to be in this moment, in this room. So the driving, the traffic, or whatever. The meeting people and saying hi in the lobby. The sitting down into the chair itself. Each exhale, let go a little bit more of what got you to this particular place and time. And take a few more breaths and release again completely. The imagination is the tool of mind. And letting the imagination give us whatever the impress of spirit may happen to be is what this exercise is all about. So take another deep breath and let it go. And as I ask this question, let us together recognize that the question itself draws the answer to it, the right and perfect answer to it. Naturally, automatically, almost like a rubber band. So take another deep breath and let that go. And I'm going to ask the question, and we will let the response. What is the highest vision, the highest ideal, the highest expression for Center for Spiritual Living, Salt Lake? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What's the experience of it? What's the highest vision, the highest ideal for Center for Spiritual Living, Salt Lake? And when whatever comes, jot it down. And let that question go just simply for a moment. Look at the card itself and mark through the question for number 2. And write a new number 2. And after that number 2, write, what's mine to do? And once you finish writing that down, let your eyes close again. And take another deep breath and release it. With regard to this highest vision, this highest ideal for Center for Spiritual Living, Salt Lake, respond to the question, what's mine to do? What is yours to do? Respond on the paper, on the card. And just let come whatever comes. Surrender to it. And when that feels complete, let your eyes close again. And know with me, this highest vision, this highest ideal for Center for Spiritual Living, Salt Lake, already exists in full form in divine mind. It already exists within each person who comes here. And the what's mine to do comes easily, effortlessly for each person who comes as well. The vision and the action coexist, just like cause and effect. So with gratitude filling my heart, joy overflowing, the smile forming on my face, confirming this as already done, I simply let it be. And together let us affirm it by saying, and so it is. Linda shared a quote of Eckhart Tolle as the inspirational reading this morning. I want to reaffirm some of that quotation because it ties in so beautifully with what you just did. When you surrender to what is, and that's a big thing. What is big. It's what's here right now, what's in the greater truth, it's all of it. When you surrender to what is and so become fully present, the past ceases to have any power. If we take that to heart, the past ceases to have any power over us in any way we don't choose it to. We make the past and our experiences of it exactly as real as we need for them to be in order to help us wake up, in order to help us evolve, in order to help us expand, should we choose to do that. This center is about that. It's about that expansion. It's about that evolution. It's about that spiritual discovery. So your input will help guide the leadership of this center more and more, closer and closer to that greater yet to be for this particular center. So as you leave this morning from the sanctuary, someone will be there to collect these cards from you, and we will get them collated. This form of surrender is the most potent power you could exercise. Surrendering to your greater yet to be, the center surrendering to its greater yet to be, not really knowing in full detail what that form may be until we get there. And that's the fun of it. What I invite you today to do is to look at your individual life in much the same way, asking yourself the question, what's the highest vision for my life, and what's mine to do with regard to the satisfaction, the fulfillment of that vision. And then just start walking it. That's the joy of this life together, is the walking it, and especially walking it together. So using this as our period for the message itself, let's move into and set up our wall of prayer. I invite our practitioners to come forward, and as they come forward and take their positions around the front of the room, I invite you to consider the experience that is the nearest, dearest, and closest to your heart that you would like to have in your life. Let's pray together. So right here, right now, in this moment of now, I let go of any notions that have limited my experiences up to this moment in time, and slide fully into an awareness of that infinite intelligence, that infinite power, that infinite presence, life itself, God itself, divinity itself, or whatever name I may choose to call it at this moment in time. And right now I choose to know it as infinite in every regard, everywhere present. I couldn't escape it if I tried. So I surrender into it. I claim my experience of it, and know that it moves me through every act, through every thought. It's thinking me. Through every breath, it inspires me. I live and all live as one of it. So by bringing my desire to the forefront, I let myself have it. So as these individual prayers continue, I speak my word for this whole community. And I know perfection itself, wholeness itself, already exists therein for all. All dreams have already been answered. All desires have already been fulfilled. And so I attend to the letting them be. I let the experience of fulfillment. I let the experience of joy and gratitude. I let the harmony. I let the peace. I let the health and well-being. So gratitude fills me. The body simply leans forward into more and more of that yet to be. And I know this as already done, already so. So I let these words go. And together, each affirms it by saying, and so it is.